And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 28th day of December 2022. And it's a beautiful day out here today, not very bright, but still good. It's 25 degrees and partly cloudy right here in Brisbane. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, let's take a look at the top news courtesy of ABC.
Andrew Comanche has taken out line honours in the 2022 Sydney to Hobart, crossing the finishing line just before 1 a.m. local time. Enthusiastic crowds turned out to see the first boats travel up the Derwent. Law Connect finished 20 minutes behind the winner with Blackjack in third.
In Queensland, two 17-year-old boys have been charged with murder and attempted murder after a 41-year-old woman was killed at her home in North Brisbane. The pair and two others are accused of breaking into a home just before midnight on Boxing Day, where they were confronted by residents Emma and Lee Lovell. Mrs Lovell died after being stabbed in the chest, while Mr Lovell was stabbed in the back.
A tragic road crash in Western Australia has killed two parents and left their three young children stranded with the wreckage of the car. A family member discovered the crash site yesterday while searching for 25-year-old Cindy Braddock, 28-year-old Jack Day and their three children. The two elder children were outside the car and a baby was still inside.
Lifeguards in Australia's southeast have faced one of their busiest days of the year, with hot weather drawing hundreds of thousands of people to the water. 4 people have drowned in Victoria alone this week, including a 5-year-old girl in Lake Ngambie in the state's north yesterday. In New South Wales, a 13 and 14-year-old being towed by a boat died after colliding with a tree in Rushes Creek yesterday, northwest of Tamworth.
Unfortunately, those are some of the sad news is coming out because everyone rushes to the water, but you have to take the precautions, but of course it's easier said than done. Well, right now, police in Queensland find no link between suspect and the North Lakes stabbing victim so far. The news we saw in brief.
17-year-old boy from Zulmia and a 17-year-old boy from Holland Park will be charged later today with murder, attempted murder and break and enter. What's happened at about 11:30 last night, two of the persons that are to be charged, it's alleged, have entered the dwelling. A confrontation has occurred inside the dwelling and then outside on the front yard of the dwelling, where the woman sadly suffered a fatal stab wound, and the male with her also suffered a stab wound. Those two fled the scene. Police attended and by using the dog squad tracked those two to another address nearby. So the investigation so far have failed to find any linkages between the persons that are in our custody and the victims in this matter. So there's no relationship there. So we'll continue to make some inquiries as to why that particular address was hit.
So there is no link. All we know is that boy from Zulmia and one from Holland Park in that horrific stabbing, into the forced entry into the house. That is just not. Well, right now, let's take a look at that Sydney to Hobart race.
Super Maxi Andrew Comanche has taken out line honours in the Sydney to Hobart yacht race, triumphing in a 2-boat chase down the Derwent River in the middle of the night. Here's the moment.
3, 2, 1. There she goes. Well done. Congratulations.
The winning time is less than 3 hours off Comanche's blistering race record set in 2017.
Law Connect has finished in second place, around 20 minutes behind, with Blackjack in third. The winner crossed the line just before 1 a.m. local time, but crowds still turned out at Constitution Dock to help celebrate. Let's go straight to our reporter Liz Gwynn in Hobart. Liz, what's the atmosphere like at the dock this morning?
Good morning, Steph. It's quite quiet here at the docks this morning. There are a few people milling around, walking around and seeing some of the yachts that have made it back to Constitution Dock, but comparatively it's very different to what it was this morning. Just 6 hours ago, hundreds of people lined the foreshore to watch Comanche finish the line first and come into here first just before 1 o'clock this morning. So it wasn't quite the race record that they were hoping to set, but still an incredible achievement. They came in and finished the line in 1 day, 11 hours and 56 minutes. So that's less than 3 hours off the record they set back in 2017, but still an incredible achievement, and particularly after quite a chaotic start when they came out of Sydney Harbour on Boxing Day, where they were jammed between boats, and they also had to do a penalty turn which caused them to lose some ground. The crew on board were ecstatic. Let's hear now from skipper John Winner.
Still thinking, are we about to have a shutdown? What's going to happen? Yeah, just didn't feel real till the last minute, and then now it's only just starting to settle in, but it feels amazing.
So that's skipper John winning there, and what an incredible achievement. Now, Law Connect, just to my right here, you'll be able to see behind me, they came in at about 27 minutes later, so not far off the mark. And then Blackjack, who were last year's line honours winners, they came in third, and then Hamilton Island Wild Oats came in fourth. There was quite a bit of jostling between second, third and fourth place, so it was anyone's race really right up until the very end. A really exciting start to the race and finish to the race, and the people here are just loving it. There's a really great atmosphere in Hobart, Steph.
What a great finish, Liz, but there have been several more retirements last night.
Yeah, they have, unfortunately, and it's really disappointing for the crew. Of course, they put so much effort into going into this race, but it's an amazing achievement just to be able to start on Boxing Day. So overnight, we have had there's been 9 retirements in total. Overnight, there have been several more. So there's only 100 boats still racing after 109 started the race. So Avalanche and also Yeah Baby were among the first to have to retire due to rudder damage and also a broken bowsprit. But we also had Kola that was forced to retire, and they actually had to be escorted by New South Wales Water Police back to shore. Thankfully, all crew on board are okay, which is good news. Now, just moments ago, Sail Exchange has had to retire due to a broken rudder. So, Steph, it just shows the sorts of conditions that they're facing in Bass Strait at the moment.
And despite those conditions, well, congratulations to the winner. And once again, it is always that great annual event. A lot of effort goes into organizing that. As we know, every year there are challenges, so many challenges. But anyway, there we are. And huge congratulations to the winner. Well, right now, 8 groups suspend projects in Afghanistan amid female staff ban. What is happening here?
So this ban, this decision fundamentally inhibits and prohibits our ability to provide humanitarian aid to all the vulnerable people. And while we are having this conversation, I do want to emphasize about the context. Afghanistan, a country which has been facing conflict for several decades, and right now, half of the population at least is facing extreme hunger. So while we are having this conversation, there are several people who did not eat last night and who know that they will not get any food today. There's winter, and people are living in makeshift camps in many places. They have been forced to flee their homes multiple times. So people are starving, people are freezing. Many of them don't have shelter. And in this situation, we get this decision which prohibits our fundamental ability. So as you can imagine, we are very, very concerned, because as humanitarians, time is of essence, because there are many children who need food urgently. There are many families, women who need healthcare urgently. And we can achieve all this only when our teams are a team of men and women humanitarians.
So are lives on the line here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 6 million people in Afghanistan are one step away from famine. At least 1 million children are facing severe acute malnutrition. So the situation is urgent, and it will get grave because the harsh winter is going to make it worse. So it is a critical humanitarian crisis.
And so how many female workers do you currently have in Afghanistan, and what's the spread of your operations in terms of the impact on the local people?
So CARE has been working in Afghanistan since 1960s, and right now we work in at least 9 provinces, and 38% of our staff are women. Our staff are some 900 people. And I also want to mention that last year we directly reached 750,000 people, and out of this 500,000 were women and girls. Women and girls are disproportionately impacted by the humanitarian crisis. We recently did a study on the food crisis, and it clearly showed evidence that women and girls are in much more need of food and nutrition services. So this is a situation where the humanitarian crisis is big, while CARE and other humanitarian agencies, we have been on the ground. We have been providing urgent critical services. We know how to do it. And give and take some, we have the means to do it. So please give us the ability to deliver to our mandate, which is providing humanitarian services with independence, with impartiality, and with neutrality.
And of course, apart from the urgent crisis that you're talking about, a lot of your workers would be locals there as well. And the joint statement from all of these aid groups say that it's beyond the impact of delivery of life-saving assistance, but it's also going to affect thousands of jobs as well in the midst of an economic crisis there. So this is so far-reaching, isn't it?
Absolutely. So it is about the employment of our female colleagues who work with us. And when we talk as humanitarians, CARE, Oxfam, NRC, Save the Children, several of us, we all are humanitarians. We work together. We deliver impact together. Nobody can achieve this alone. And why should we? So we are always depending on each other as peer agencies, taking support from each other. So it is about the jobs and livelihoods of so many women. And I also must say their morale. Our teams in Afghanistan, they are shattered, they are devastated. And I'm very proud to say that majority of CARE staff, I would say more than 95%, is from Afghanistan. Not only from the country, but they are usually from the area where we are operating. This helps us in understanding the context much better, in having stronger relationships with the communities. So this decision impacts us negatively in various ways. As you said, jobs of women, their morale and motivation, and our ability to reach women. Because the context, the cultural norms are such that a woman is usually allowed to interact with men who are related to her. What does this mean? That when we have men on our teams, they cannot interact with women and girls who need our services, which means we cannot register them, we cannot provide them services. So with teams which comprise of men only, we will unfortunately be able to reach men only. Yes. Humanitarian services should not be reserved for only half of the population of the country.
Absolutely right, and that is just gross discrimination, and it's hard to believe that that's happening in today's day and age. Well, right now let's go to that home invasion where the teenagers have been charged.
Lee Lovell returns home, bandaged and in shock.
She's such a beautiful person. We're all just devastated from her loss, sort of senseless.
Police tape obscures Christmas decorations at the North Lakes home he shared with his wife Emma Lovell and their 2 children, now the scene of tributes and tears from friends.
She was pretty much a second mum. She considered everyone family.
Police say pets alerted the couple in their early 40s to intruders late last night.
They were woken by barking dogs. They disturbed them inside the dwelling, yes, and they were defending their house.
The confrontation spilled onto the lawn. It's alleged Ms Lovell was stabbed in the chest and Mr Lovell in the back.
My mum's best friend, that he heard the same thing, all the screaming. He came out.
Neighbours rushed to help. They say they saw teenage boys run off.
Police attended, and by using the dog squad, tracked those 2 to another address nearby.
Another 2 boys, aged 16 and 17, were also arrested.
We have had prior contact with all 4 of the persons that are currently in our custody.
The Queensland Ambulance Service's medical director was among the first responders. The experienced doctor performed an emergency procedure on Ms Lovell at the scene. but she died at hospital.
This is really incredible. This is some scary stuff. This is a little close to home, I think.
2 17-year-old boys from Brisbane have been charged with murder, attempted murder and breaking and entering.
The legislation is clear and it is tough. If a young person breaks the law, they will be held to account.
I don't know what people do it for.
Alexander Lewis, ABC News, Brisbane.
And that is the disturbing news coming out of North Brisbane. One of the boy was from Zilmere. Well, that age, and I don't know, what do we do? There has to be a lot more community awareness. We need to be in touch with the boys of those age when they, get into things like that, into a lot of trouble for themselves, and they cause so much problem in the community as well. Well, the South Australia flood is highest level in generations. And I know my friend Neil Davidson, who is in Netherlands at the moment, did some research and did some paperwork on this. It would be good to, one day talk to him about this on air.
The mighty Murrays closing in at Marook as this family desperately tries to save their home of more than 30 years.
I don't think we'll ever win against Mother Nature. There's no way you win against Mother Nature. It's just going to happen and that's all there is to it.
Only yesterday it was easy to get in and out. Now the house can only be reached by boat while the Roos family frantically tries to save prized possessions.
Just photos and stuff that Mrs. found in the house that she didn't get yesterday.
There are pumps running and more sandbags coming in, but it's a tough fight.
Keeping up with our contour banks as best we could, keeping the driveway as dry as possible, until we just lost the battle yesterday with that little storm come through.
It's a losing battle for many older and private levees in the Murraylands. This one at Maipalonga failed last night.
So there's quite a large area of paddocks there that we believe the water's going to fill. SES will continue to monitor that over the coming days to ensure that any impacts to roads or properties are communicated with the community as soon as possible.
But up in Renmark, the peak seems to be levelling off. The extra water now heading for Berry.
The peak will arrive in Berry about between now and the 2nd of January, and then it'll move through. It's likely due around Swan Reach between now and the 13th of January.
The SA government says that businesses that are struggling because of the flooding will be eligible for a new round of grants. As if the flooding wasn't enough, the heat in some of these Riverland towns has risen past 40 degrees and there's no escape. The river's still closed to boating and swimming. It's also hard on locals like Laurie Roos, now sleeping in stuffy caravans and sheds.
And how are you feeling?
Pretty exhausted and defeated at the moment. Not much more I can do.
Hopefully.
Yes, not much that they can do. And as he did say, that it's just Mother Nature and you cannot battle that. There have been all these levies that have been put around. Well, they will only help or assist to a degree, but water always finds its way around. And as you can see from one of the pictures, there's the levee is broken in so many different places, so you just can't control that. Well, the world is what it is today, shaped by this kind of incidences, the natural incidences that have happened. There have been areas on the surface of this earth which were once inhabited, which once were towns. Later they were flooded around, so there are only ruins that remain. So these are the kind of things that do happen in history. Part of evolution, I'd say. Of course, climate change, as the Greenies would say and would argue, and as I mentioned before, that we'll have to get a commentary on this from Neil Davidson. Well, right now, as I promised before, the bonus track for today.
ni da ma re ma da ni da da za ni za ma ga ma ni za ni da ma re ni da pa ni za re ga sa na da ni za ga ma re da sa bebe darda bebe darda bebe darda mere hੰਝੂਆਂ ਦੀ ਗਈ ਸਾਰੀ ਆਦਤ ਤੇਰੇ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਤੂੰ ਹੀ ਰੁਕਿਆ ਨਾਏ ਹੁਣ ਰੋਕਿਆ ਰੁਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਮਰ ਪਰ ਗਏ ਸਿਲਸਿਲਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਮਰ ਪਰ सिलसिला चलदा रहा दर्द दिल विच रोज़ एक पलदा रहा उम्र पर सिलसिला चलदा रहा उम्र पर सिलसिला चलदा रहा दर्द दिल विच रोज़ एक पलदा रहा उम्र पर सिलसिला जिसनू छू के तू तां किधरे तुर गया जिसनू छू के तू तां किधरे तुर गया जिसनू छू के तू तां किधरे जिस्म मेरा देर तक बलदा रहा उम्र पर सिलसिला चलदा रहा उम्र पर सिलसिला चलदा रहा याद तेरी ना टली परवाग ले याद गम गम दम దని దని సము దని సని దని ద గమ దని సని స దని సని స ద సని స याद तेरी ना टली परवाग ले रोज दिल चढ़दा रहा टलदा रहा उम्र पर सिलसिला चलदा रहा सिलसिला चलदा रहा Thank you.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, the bonus track for today, and an excellent number there by Parbinder Singh. And one day we will be presenting his new single which he has put out once we get clearance from the copyright that we are able to play the track here. We will do that. This one was done 100% live here in the studios. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining with us today on this 28th day of December. Few more days left, 25 degrees and mostly cloudy. While the sun's shining at this point in time, it could change very soon, but it is below the average temperature for around this time of the year. But once again, if you are going out into the water, close to the water, always take extra care, extra precautions. Everyone likes going to the beach, going out four-wheel driving or whatever, but you need to take extra care. Be careful. Don't be reckless. And, you spoil things for yourself and you spoil it for others as well. So it is just not good, all these reports that have come out about drownings and other things, that those two boys who were being towed by the boat, and when they hit the tree, they passed away. So, there have been many incidents which could have been avoided. But once again, as I said before, easier said than done. But from your own side, try and be as cautious as you can. Always be mindful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful having your company today. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us. We'll see you back tomorrow at 9 a.m. with the news. But until then, it's goodbye from us.